Hey, what's going on, guys? Back for another one. It's your host, Lifestyle Amazing, also known as Richie Skills. This is week 5. We're going to talk about some sleepers, some streamers, some starters, some guys that are about to take off, some guys you can possibly trade. So let's get right into it for another exciting week. And my first category here is quarterback sleepers, and that is Geno Smith of the Seattle Seahawks going up against the New York Giants. He is going to have a feast in this one. He's going to get Metcalf and JSN involved. I do see a big week from him, so you can definitely put him in your lineup. Another guy here that used to play in New York, and that is Sam Darnold of the Minnesota Vikings going up against the New York Jets. The Jets do have a good defense, but Darnold now has a true number one in Justin Jefferson, so I see some big numbers from him in this game, especially a revenge game for him. Then we got another guy who's been inconsistent this year, but I think he's going to have a big game, and that is Trevor Lawrence of the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the Indianapolis Colts. They are dealing with a lot of injuries, and I just see Lawrence airing it out to Brian Thomas Jr., Christian Kirk, and if Ingram's back, it's a lot of targets that he has. And then my last quarterback in my sleeper is Jordan Love of the Green Bay Packers going up against the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams will not be able to stop him. He will probably have another 3+ touchdowns. Even though Watson is out, I do think Wicks and Reed step up in this game. Love does have a consistency this week. And then my dreamers here are guys that you think are going to do good, but they're most likely not. And that is Anthony Richardson of the Indianapolis Colts going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He might not even play in this game, most likely going to sit out. And if he does, it will be with an injury. So I'm trying to fade him this week. Then we got another guy here, Derek Carr of the New Orleans Saints going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs do have a good defense, and Reed will get to the quarterback. So this is a guy that I'm trying to not start this week. Definitely a guy I'm looking to bench. I don't see a big week from him. Another guy here is Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals going up against the Baltimore Ravens. We know the Ravens do have a good defense, and we know that Burrow does have some good weapons on his team, but I can see them leaning a little bit more, trying to run a little bit. I just don't see him having a success in this game. And then the last guy I'm benching is Daniel Jones of the New York Giants going up against the Seattle Seahawks. He is going to be without his number one target in Neighbors and without their number one running back, Devin Singletary, so I just don't like him. Maybe he gets a couple of rushes and sacked 5+ times this game. Then we're going to go into my week 5 fill-ins, and that is a guy who just took over the starting role. He still will split carries, and that is Antonio Gibson of the New England Patriots going up against the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins may be able to kind of slow him down. He's going to catch a lot of passes, and Gibson is a good guy to start. He might get you about 10 carries, 4 or 5 catches. And this one other guy here who is taking over slowly but surely, and that is Chase Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals going up against the Baltimore Ravens. Like I said, it is a tough defense, but he is splitting with Zach Moss, and I do like Brown in this game, so I'm putting him in as my RB2 or flex play. We got another guy here who is just starting because of an injury to Jonathan Taylor, and that is Trey Sermon of the Indianapolis Colts going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars do not have a good defense. Sermon may split carries with Goodson, but I think that he's still going to be a fantasy relevant this week as a RB2. This last guy here who used to play for the Chiefs and now is back reunited with them, and that is Kareem Hunt of the Kansas City Chiefs going up against the New Orleans Saints. I think he gets a good another 14 rushes, 60 yards, and maybe gets a touchdown for you as long as his injury is not that serious, but we have to wait and see. Here are my week 5 sit-ems, and that is Najee Harris of the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Dallas Cowboys. When Parsons is on that other side, I don't want any part of a running back on that team. Is why I'm benching Najee Harris this week, even without Jaylen Warren playing. And then we got another guy here who is splitting with his backfield, and that is Travis Etienne of the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, the Colts have a bad defense, but Etienne is also dealing with an injury, and Tank Bigsby may eventually take over his job. They may even trade Etienne eventually, so I don't like him this week. If I have better options, I'm trying to start them. Rico Dowdle of the Dallas Cowboys going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't like this matchup. He has a tough 3 games in a row, 2 games, and then a bye week. So he's a guy I'm looking to trade, bench, or maybe even cut. Even though he's getting more opportunities, I just don't feel comfortable having him as a weekly starter. Guy who to the bench, and that is Ramondre Stevenson of the New England Patriots going up against the Miami Dolphins. Stevenson will still see the field, but with all the fumbles he's had, he will play most of that game on the bench. I don't like him this matchup. I'm definitely benching him for sure. I got some honorable handcuffs, and that is guys that can step up if their main primary running back goes down, and that is Tank Bigsby of the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the Indianapolis Colts. We also got Emmanuel Wilson of the Green Bay Packers. If anything was to happen to Josh Jacobs, he does become a good RB2, and they are going up against the Los Angeles Rams. He may still get a decent amount of work in this game. Then we got a guy here who might eventually take over the starting role week 8 and on, and that's Roschon Johnson of the Chicago Bears going up against the Carolina Panthers. Swift did have a good game last week, but I think Johnson will be that Dak eventually throughout the season. Then we got a guy here who is a great handcuff, may start if he was on another team, and that is Braylon Allen of the New York Jets going up against the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings have a top 5 defense this year, but Allen is a guy that can run, that can catch. That was the steal of the draft, and with the opportunities, more of a goal line back. So yeah, it's a good chance that he can definitely help you in a flex spot. This guy starting right here, Tracy of the New York Giants going up against the Seattle Seahawks. He's a spot start. If you need one, you can throw him in. I do expect him to rush for 100 yards this week. It's a lot to ask for, but it is a risk reward for sure. My start and sits at wide receiver. My start of the week here is Trey Tucker of the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the Denver Broncos. The Broncos have Patrick Surtain, but he will be playing on Jacoby Myers, so that means more volume for Trey Tucker. He's a guy you can feel comfortable putting in your lineup. Another guy with the injury to Rashee Wright is Xavier Worthy of the Kansas City Chiefs going up against the New Orleans Saints. Yes, they have Lattimore on that team, but the speed that Worthy has, he can get open, and they're going to rely on him and Kelsey this game. I do see a decent 14, 15-point game from Worthy, but slow your expectations because it is his first starting role this year. Another guy here and stepping up as a rookie, and since Andy Dalton took over, that is Xavier Legette of the Carolina Panthers going up against the Chicago Bears. This is also a tough matchup for him, but he does have the talent to get separation. I think that he has a relatively decent week. He's a guy you can put in if you have some injuries to your receivers or you have some guys on a bye week here who is starting to step up. Last year he played pretty good, but now with Joe Flacco possibly starting this week, Joshua Downs of the Indianapolis Colts going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, he will be a nice dump off guy in a slot. I think he gets a good 6 to 7 catches, maybe 10 to 11 targets. Not sure he'll get a touchdown, but he will have volume for you guys on your fantasy team. Here, he has been stepping up the last 2 weeks, and that is Christian Kirk of the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the Indianapolis Colts. He's been seeing 10 to 12 targets the last 2 weeks. 22 targets is a guy I want to have in my lineup. Even with Brian Thomas Jr. on the other side, they both will be able to produce in this offense this week. That's why I also like Lawrence as well. Guys, I'm sitting. The sits are Wan'Dale Robinson of the New York Giants going up against the Seattle Seahawks. He will be playing a top corner, and I just don't like his chances this week. Even with Neighbors out, I just think that there's too much pressure on him. So I do like in future weeks, but not this week, be looking to trade or bench. And as Jordan Addison, Minnesota Vikings going up against the New York Jets. The Jets do have a good defense, and I don't see productive day from him. He's a guy that you can definitely bench for this week. Another rookie here is Rome Odunze, the Chicago Bears going up against the Carolina Panthers. This is a great matchup for him, but I just don't see Odunze doing a lot in this game, especially with Allen a little bit more healthy this week. Unless they trade Allen, Odunze a bust or breakout. We got Jawan Jennings, the San Francisco 49ers going up against the Arizona Cardinals. I think he still would be consistent in this game. If you need to play him as a flex or a wide receiver 3, you can do that. But I'm probably benching him this week just to kind of see what kind of role he's going to have going forward. So yeah, I'm not too comfortable or confident starting him this week. A guy who was injured last week week who is playing is Tank Dell of the Houston Texans going up against the Buffalo Bills. The Bills do have a good defense, and Tank Dell is coming back from an injury as a third receiving option on that team behind Diggs and Collins. I do not like him. Most likely bench him this week. I have better options. That guys that you can trade for is Garrett Wilson of the New York Jets. He will eventually get it going, so he's a guy that I am looking to get before he takes off. Then we got Davante Adams of the Las Vegas Raiders. He is looking to be traded to the Jets or going to the Saints. Yeah, that will happen probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So he's a guy that won't be playing right now. That's why you can buy low on him. Another guy here is the second wide receiver on his team, and that is JSN of the Seattle Seahawks. He's a guy I'm looking to buy because he's going to take over Tyler Lockett, which he's already done, and he has the talent to produce in that offense. So a guy I'm looking to target this week or maybe next week. Another guy here who's starting to get chemistry with Jaden Daniels, and that is Terry McLaurin, Washington Commanders, a guy that I'm looking to target for sure. Guys I'm looking to maybe trade away is Brandon Ayuk of the San Francisco 49ers. He does have talent. He will have some breakout weeks, but he also will have some weeks where that he wasn't in your starting lineup. So he's a guy I'm going to see if I can get some value for. We got George Pickens of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He is a guy that was supposed to be a very hyped up #1 wide receiver. He can be consistent, but I just don't trust him enough. So he's a guy that I'm looking to see if I can get an Xavier Worthy and an Xavier Legette. Somebody that I put in my lineup and I can feel comfortable every week starting. A guy that I drafted, but I'm not too crazy about, and that's Zay Flowers of the Baltimore Ravens. He is a guy that's going to be the #1 wide receiver on there, especially the way Mark Andrews is playing right now. And they're not always going to be playing with the lead. So he is a guy that you can definitely look to trade away and get some value for him. Or you can keep him if that's totally up to you. Got Keenan Allen of the Chicago Bears. This is a guy that we expect him to do big things and be a security blanket for Caleb Williams, but he is a guy I'm looking to trade and maybe get a wide receiver that's struggling that I think will break out. This week I got my bound to breakouts are Dalton Kincaid of the Buffalo Bills going up against the Houston Texans. They have no Shakir. He's going to be a guy that's going to be targeted a lot in this game, especially with Josh Allen will get him going. So as a guy I'm confidently starting this week. Another guy here who is a rookie, and that's Brian Thomas of the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the Indianapolis Colts. Like I said, this team is hurting right now, but Brian Thomas is a special talent. He's a guy that is going to break out in week 5. And we got Dontavian Wicks of the Green Bay Packers going up against the Los Angeles Rams. Wicks will explode in this game, and with no Christian Watson and no maybe Romeo Dobbs, he is a guy that I'm looking to fire up and start and being excited about, maybe even as a wide receiver too. One of my favorite picks this year, and he is a rookie, is Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders going up against the Cleveland Browns. The Browns do have a tough defense, but Daniels is a great talent. He's showcased that he can play in the big leagues, and he's a guy that I am starting. Hey, maybe starting him over a guy like I have him in my other league where I have Jalen Hurts. He's a guy that maybe he just starts every week for me now. And then my last guy here who's been inconsistent this year, and that is Josh Jacobs of the Green Bay Packers going up against the Los Angeles Rams. Good breakout game. That's it for me, guys. I'll see you guys next week. Good luck with everything, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.